see you both.
It's good to see you.
Fantastic. Um, I thought today we might learn a little bit more about make meaningful work, what makes Josephine Wong tick, and what makes Daniel Szuc tick, and what it is about your own life journey and your professional experiences that have brought you to this moment, and why it is that we've ended up collaborating, and what it is that we think we can do through this collaboration. So perhaps, Joe, you could tell us a little bit about Make Meaningful Work. You are an accomplished author. I've read a couple of the books, and I know that there's another one in the pipeline, and I'm looking forward to that. But I'd love to hear actually from you the inspiration for the work that you do, and perhaps just give us a quick overview about it as a bit of a teaser so that people can, in a sense, taste what they will be able to experience when they come and join our webinars in the future.
Okay. So we've been on our journey of how can we make meaningful work as a question for about 12 years now. How did it start? Was we have been on our other journey. It's an area called user experience consulting for many years. Again, so 12 years ago, it was about 15 years into our consulting business. And we worked with a lot of big companies, different teams, different culture, different locations. And we started to observe that many people don't really enjoy their work, and they don't like working with the people that they work with. In our industry, empathy is a big thing that people keep talking about. But sometimes when you observe even our industry people, they don't embody it. And so I personally very much into health, and I can see that these are elements that affecting people's health. And I'm also very much into the health of the planet. And because all these decisions that we make in workplaces, it affecting the health of our planet as well as our own health. So that's the start of our journey to look into this area. And after maybe 2 years of inquiry or talk to different people globally, we started to have a question instead of an answer. And that's how we came up with how can we make meaningful work, and what are the elements we need. And the elements that we look into, of course, it's natural to look into the process, how a team made up, and all these different things. But we ended up focus in what people are facing on a daily basis. The problems they face are mostly people related. And the people related problems, usually people use their own, we call it bag of tricks to solve it. So those are, we call it human skills that you acquired implicitly. So throughout your childhood, and then you work, and then you also apply those human skills implicitly. So then the first book came out to have tools to help people how to acquire those human skills. So that was the first book. We published it in 2021. Yeah. And
Yeah,
then,
very cool.
yeah. And then 2025, last year, we applied the tools into a more specific area in organizational culture. So that's what we did last year.
What drew you to this particular path, Daniel? You came out of corporate Australia, actually, originally, in one of the biggest corporates connected to it anyway. And this idea of meaningful work, I think, is a fascinating twist, because people often talk about work being central to people's identities, and so you would think that implicitly work was meaningful, and yet the question that was actually being posed first and foremost is, well, in fact, is much of the work that we do meaningful at all, given that the observation was that most people don't like the work that they do, or at least don't like how they're going about doing it.
Mm. Thanks, Warwick, and thanks, Joe. It's a great question. I think if you consider the question of how can we make meaningful work for as long as Joe and myself have, and now in collaboration with you, what's lovely about it in reference to the three of us is I think we individually approach it and quite naturally from different backgrounds and different perspectives. Um, Joe's savvy in particular areas that I'm not. Warwick, clearly you're savvy in particular areas that I'm not. And I'm probably savvy in particular areas that both of you are not. But what we do is we complement each other. And part of complementing each other in reference to Joe Wong's definition of culture is the conduct, interactions, and relationships between people in moments that matter that ultimately affect a conduct chain. And I think it's a beautiful definition of culture. It's a very well thought through definition of culture. You could speak at length on all of the different terms in there, but there's one phrase in there that I do want to focus on, which drew me, I think, on reflection and retrospectively, that drew me to this project. And it didn't exist a few years. It didn't exist until probably last year, if I'm remembering correctly, because we hadn't really come up with that definition of culture, or Joe hadn't done it yet. And the phrase is conduct chain. And the reason I'm selecting that, and in particular with the work that the three of us are doing, is that I notice that in our conversations with the three of us, but I also notice it implicitly and or explicitly with other people that we talk to, they are in some shape or form talking about their context, and they are in some shape or form talking about people in their context, and they are referencing some sort of system at play, or a chain, a connected chain, or something that looks like a network of something. You can use different words effectively to mean the same thing. In your world, Warwick, it's supply chain. It implies that there's a network there of humans that are conducting, interacting, and relating to each other. Now, if we take that chain, if we take that network or system as a baseline, that we would probably more generally call context. I think when people are in a context, just like the three of us are in this call right now, I think when people are in context, either in work or in family or in school or whatever context they're in, or with friends, I think they're not always conscious or aware of what's going on around them. Now, it's a bigger discussion as to what's creating blockers or barriers equal to their perspectives. But we've noticed that there's been a degradation in people's ability to have that perspective on what's going on around them with other people. They are struggling to understand the system that they're in, the conduct chain that they're in, the supply chain that they're in. People have become very introspective to the point of selfish, not really thinking about the impact that they are having on other people as they're collaborating, as they're working in teams. And so to answer your question in my typical long-winded way, Warwick and Joe, is what drew me to this was everything that I felt in great theatre production and was less so prevalent at work, although I have experienced it in work, and clearly have experienced it with Joe. But I certainly experienced it in professional theatre, where there was that notion of a connectedness and a growth of perspective and a collectiveness equal to the thing that we're all working on together. The notion of that collectiveness, that notion that for this to work, it's not just about me, it's also about Warwick, and it's also about Joe, and it's also about our viewers, and it's also about the community that we're building. So to conclude, I think what drew me to this is the bigger picture nature of it. And I think it's that bigger picture nature of it that is being largely eroded and degraded and causing big disconnects between people, as Joe rightfully said, given her passion, huge disconnects equal to the planet as a whole.